Let me tell you exactly what it is that I do now. I'm at Trinity College. I am a sociologist, and what I examine is how it is that geneticists in genome sciences make sense of genetic processes in a racialized society. That's what I do. Okay, and so I talk to geneticists and genomists all the time. I know their language and expose exactly how it is that they help to reify racism in American society. I've already put out one article on the issue. It's called "They Say It's in the Genes: Decoding Racial Ideology and Genomics." And now I'm writing another one called "Biological Preemptions, Race and Class in say genomics." So that's what I'm doing now. And writing a book too, so. All right. Tonight, what I want to do is talk a little bit about Juneteenth and then where we are today. But before I do that, though, I want to thank Socialist Action for inviting me to speak, as well as Chris, who got in touch with me to come and talk to you guys and so forth. I've been in Hartford for about, well, in the Hartford area. I lived in Hartford for 8 years. This is my 16th or 17th year in Hartford now. So coming from, well, I was in Colorado to this place called Hartford, which I used to drive by all the time on my way to Boston to go to school. Never stopped. But now I know people in Hartford, and I'm glad I did decide to stay for the long duration. And so I'm here tonight to talk to you about, like I said, Juneteenth. I'm really honored to be here. And my talk is pretty much going to talk about how it is that African Americans' ongoing struggle with pursuit of equality and social justice and freedom in the United States, and exactly what that means. But I'm gonna make him. First, I'm gonna have to do what all sociologists do, that is to press you for a while. Okay. I'm gonna have to give you some bad status information, and then talk about some of the remedies if I get that far. I may not. And you know, I have no problems with you interrupting me and asking me a question, so you can do that too. I'm not one of those professors who will just read something and get you bored, so you'll see me talking to you more than anything else. But let's talk about Juneteenth. Juneteenth really is June 19th. Marks the day enslaved African Americans in Texas were informed that President Abraham Lincoln had actually issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and that was about 2.5 years earlier before they were informed that they were free in Texas. Okay? Texas resisted the order. It was only when Major General Gordon Granger came ashore in Galveston, Texas, to take control of the city, June 19th, 1865, that the folks in Texas were aware that they were free. Okay. When he came ashore, the Granger settled into his villa, and then he came out and he read what is called General Order Number 3 to the people of Galveston, and I'll state it, it's very short to you, I'll quote it for you. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. The connections hitherto existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. Okay. The free men are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. That is, stay on your plantation and work for the guy who used to whoop your ass all day. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm cussing, I shouldn't say. Okay. But work for him now. He got to pay you some wages. You know, they're going to be still slave wages, but he's going to pay you some wages. That is, and they made sure that they would stay on the land, but what they said was, when they continue reading the order, they are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, that is, the freed African Americans, right? That they will not be supported in idleness, either there or elsewhere. So you better damn work. Yeah, you free, but you got to work for your living now. You have nothing, but you got to work. Okay, all right? The year after this announcement, African Americans marked the occasion with large celebrations. That is, to be free actually is a good thing, don't get me wrong, but to go into another kind of servitude, which we know evolved when it comes to the tenant farming system, where basically you were in debt bondage like we are today, with all kinds of debt that we're running today. We can't declare bankruptcy. Let me meander for a second. Because somebody named Barack Obama, who basically went along as senator with the bankruptcy law. At first he said he wasn't going to go along with it, and he signed off on it and it passed. And now people cannot declare bankruptcy. They're indebted for life, basically. Okay? They can't get out of debt. They have to work out some kind of arrangement. Okay? But I digress. Barack Obama is not my buddy. Put it that way. Okay. All right, so we look at this, these celebrations. Many African Americans at that time, especially in Texas, viewed it as our Independence Day. It was our 4th of July. So I'll talk a little bit about that later on, but I want to read you something which is very appropriate at this particular point, from a fellow by the name of Frederick Douglass. Speech delivered in 1852 in Rochester, New York, being invited to talk about the 4th of July and what is the meaning of the 4th of July. And I just quote the last paragraph for you, and that is, what to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than any other of all days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boast, liberty, an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mock. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgiving, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace a nation of savages. There is not a nation on earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. Something which still goes on. Okay? Yeah, all you gotta do is just look at the ruling yesterday, which is a mockery. You know, when you come talk about health care, you got liberals celebrating as if it's some kind of victory, and you got extreme right-wing people acting as if it was a defeat. It's amazing to me, because who made out like bandits? Well, the insurance companies, the hospitals, and so forth. Now they have people who have to pay. If they don't pay, they get penalized. I mean, what kind of victory is that? I mean, health shouldn't be about profit, right? It should be about improving the health of people. But I guess a vast majority of the corporate organs and the wealthy few in the United States just still don't get it. I guess you're going to have to shove it down their throat through some kind of revolutionary process, which I hope is going on now through the various movements around the country and so forth. Okay? But I digress again, I'm sorry. Okay? These celebrations in the late 19th and early 20th century, this 4th of July, this Juneteenth thing, included prayer services, speakers with inspirational speeches, and people who read the Emancipation Proclamation. And stories from the former enslaved about their experiences under servitude were also talked about. Food, games, rodeos, and dances. So the celebration of June 19th as an Emancipation Day spread from Texas to neighboring states of Louisiana, especially when black Texans started to migrate across the South. So when you look at the neighboring states like Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, California, well, a lot of blacks went west too, you will see these Juneteenth Day being celebrated even until this day. The Juneteenth celebration somewhat died down during the 1950s and 1960s because attention turned towards, as you know, the civil rights movement and the expansion of the freedom for African Americans in the country itself. So in the 1970s, Juneteenth revived, though, in some communities. For example, in Austin, Texas, where Texas is where it all started, the celebration returned in 1976 after a 25-year hiatus. But what happened later on, though, was that Texas decided